Hello and thanks for joining us, watching or listening. It's episode 25 of VIP Boxing's Bell to Bell podcast. You can watch us, as you know, on VIP YouTube or search for us on Spotify and iTunes. You can download and listen to us. And any review you leave will be most welcome, particularly on iTunes. I'm Steve Lillis. With me, my co-host, John Evans. You okay there, John?
I'm good, Steve. How are you?
Yeah, I'm all right, pal. I'm all right. And a good guest this week, a very special guest, a boxer whose popularity has mushroomed over the last few months, Manchester's very own Macaulay McGowan. How are you, Macaulay?
Woo! Yeah, I'm good, yeah. You would have thought 2 losses would get me more popular than 15 wins.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. Your last 2 fights, you come off on the wrong end of a result, but you got nothing but appreciation after going in there against Tursin Bey Kulakemet, Kieran Conway, who's a massive for a super welterweight. What's next for you? Is it a return to welterweight?
Yeah, I mean, I always boxed about light middle anyway, but I knew when it was time to step up proper, it would be at welterweight. But then I was going to fight in Dubai at welterweight, and then they kind of said, oh, he's pulled out on the week of the fight, but here's a fight in 5 weeks at light middle. So I thought, well, I'm light middle now, so I might as well just eat what I want and stay at that. And it didn't turn out too good. But yeah, I'll be at welter. I got beat off Kulakemet, and I thought, or however you pronounce his name, and I thought, all right, I won't box again until I'm a welterweight. And then that opportunity come up, so I just thought, what the hell, fucking go for it. So that's what I did.
So when you got any date of when you might be out next? I mean, obviously, there's not as many shows as we'd like at the minute, but any positive news?
No, nothing. No, I'm just eating well. I'm training. I'm keeping myself fit, and I'll just hopefully get a date soon, which won't be in a not too far future.
Macaulay, I know you say you can't turn down a fight, but now are you going to really look at the options now? You know, you've got a 3rd loss in a row. Things might change, might they? Yeah. Have you now got to plot a route and be sensible about this now?
Yeah, I've got to be, because it's always been in my hands, like what's going on. So just like I'm a boxer, I'm a fighter. No one's looking out for me. I'm looking out for myself. So, but if any fight's offered to me, just pride gets in the way. So maybe I need to put my ego aside and my pride aside and think about what's actually best. Because I ain't stupid. I went into both of them fights knowing, well, in hindsight, the Kulakemet fight was probably 90-10, and the Conway was probably 70-30 that I'd win, you know, in their favour. So I'm gonna have to, when a fight comes up, I'll have to, instead of jumping at it saying, yeah, I'll have a sit down first and think about what's right. At the end of the day, each fight now is a must win. So it's kind of feels a good, exciting position to be in. Like I'm 27 at the end of this year, so I've got to really do the business, and everything's a must win now. So I like being in them positions because I've got no excuses and I can't hide. I've got to put the graft in. So yeah, I've got no leeway because it's a must win situation every time now.
Brilliant. Well, I'll tell you what, you can earn your keep here. Your coin you're earning here tonight of 0 by chatting boxing now, you know. Yeah. Right. How it works, Macaulay, we have 6 topics. We've all picked out 2 each, 3 minutes each round. And at the end of the 3 minutes, if anyone's still talking and you're still talking, you're the last person at 3 minutes, you'll think you're in the ring with Kulakemet because John gets very angry. And what happens, John, at the end of 3 minutes?
Yeah, I'll take you back to your days when you were in Arnie's gym before you turned over, Macaulay, with Mark Thompson. You know, I'll go into that mode and...
On my first few spars with Matthew Hall, ding, flip it.
Oh, whenever his name comes up, everyone talks about Matthew in their spars of him, and it brings back nightmares for everyone. But round 1, John, is over to you.
Right, we'll start with a fight that was a week ago now, and it was Tim Tszyu. Big footsteps to following, hasn't he? And he doesn't fight like his famous dad, Kostya. You know, he's a bit more reckless. You could say a little bit more exciting. Obviously, nowhere near those levels yet. He's not got Kostya's right hand. But I'll tell you what, he's doing everything right, isn't he? The first time I saw Tszyu was when he fought Denton Vassell from round here. And Denton was at the end of his career then, and I don't think you could take much from it. But since then, you know, what improvements Tim Tszyu's made. He's clearing out that group of Australians, isn't he? I think he's
Yeah.
only got that Michael Zarafa left. You know, then he's got Brubaker, Jeff Horn, Dennis Hogan has got links there. Probably Zarafa next, I would have thought. And then he's ready, isn't he? You know, he's ready to go. Light middleweight's a horrible division to break into, and he's going to have to leave Australia and go over to America to do it. But fair play to Tim Tszyu, a real exciting addition to that 154.
You know, I hadn't studied him really, John. I knew of him, obviously, through his dad's link, and maybe I was a bit snobby about it. He's only there because of his dad. And then I watched him in the Horn fight last summer, and that really, really impressed me. I know Horn has seen better days, but it was the way he beat a washed-up fighter. He showed no mercy, no sympathy. He showed a nasty side and a proper number. And last week, just as good again against a fighter who's seen better days, but he's doing proper numbers on these guys. And I was thinking back earlier, you know, when you mentioned this was your topic, I'm thinking, are they the best father and son double act since Corey and Leon Spinks? I think that Corey was the last one to emulate his dad and win a world title, I think. Obviously, we've got the Eubanks in this country, but I think Corey and Leon were the last pair, you know, who won a world title, who both won world titles, and there's real hope here. Have you seen him, Macaulay?
To be honest, no, I haven't seen lots of him. I've obviously heard of him. I'd seen it when Denton Vassell's fighting him, so I thought, you know, I'll have a quick look. But I didn't really take too much interest. But him beating Dennis Hogan the way he did, that I thought, wow, that's a big win, because Dennis Hogan's no mug. Like, he was on the wrong end of the decision with Jamie Mungai, and he stepped up. I think he fought one of the Charlo twins. You know, so for Tim to do he had 15 fights or something to go out and do a job on him. You know, and I'm not from Australia, so I don't know like what they're like on their social media and whatnot, but he don't seem to get the critics as much as other father and son acts. So he must be being compared well, if you know what I mean. Like other father and sons, they're slagged off, where I think he's a bit loved. So he's doing something right.
You don't hear much from him, do you? You know, he doesn't seem to shout his mouth off or anything. He just seems to go about his work. And I tell you what, well, none of us were following him from the start, so we can't accuse him of trading off his dad's name. So he's done it all by fighting.
Right, round two, someone who who Macaulay might be interested in. Connor go all the way. Connor Ben, how far can you guys think he can go as well? I mean, on his debut, I wouldn't have backed him to get past area level. I didn't think he had a southern area with him, but he's been, he's got that name and nepotism's worked for him. You know, I guess he's financially okay because he's been able to live boxing full time. He's been matched so well by Eddie Hearn, and the improvement is just incredible, and it shows what you can get if you people spend that time with you. You can concentrate on boxing. You can be matched the right fights the right time. And it's the same as what's going to happen with Campbell Hatton, I hope, when he can come through. And I'm not saying for a minute he's going to be up there with the likes of Spence, Crawford, Garcia, Porter, but so many great fights for him. He's got Samuel Vargas this weekend. And you know what? I wouldn't be shocked if he ended up in the winner of Khan versus Brook. It would not shock me because he sells it so well. So many good fights out for him. Avanesian, McKinson, winner of Jenkins, Esserman. Him and Lewis Crocker would be an incredible tear up. Have you seen him? What's your impressions, Macaulay, of how far he can go?
I really like him, mate. I think he can. Obviously, going back to the debut, he weren't the best, was it? But the improvements and everything else, you can't say because of his dad. That's all him, all hard work and dedication. It must be. So I mean, don't get me wrong. He's been managed the right way and stuff, but he's still got to do the job. He'll get managed into world level, and then it's up to him. But got to get the look of the draw, and he might not get. Look, there's some fighters out there dead on. They'll be world champion. They've got it. Where some, I think, have to be managed into it a bit more than others, and I think he will get managed into one. Look, and I'm trying not to talk about me, but I'm a boxer. Like, if I boxed the lad that Colette met fought the other day, I'd be in the top 15 now with the WBC. But I'm not. So I'm not bitter about it, but it's about how you manage sometimes and the fights that you take. But he's putting in the work, and if he's paying his dues, who am I to judge him and say he won't be world level, because he's the one getting it. So fair play to him. I like him.
Yeah, I like. He's great to watch as well, isn't he? You know, he's learning, but he's been exciting while he's been going along as well. A good fight for him this weekend, I think. With that Sam Vargas, he should be safe there. But Macaulay will appreciate it as well. You know, Connor's popularity's grown, hasn't he? He cuts a fantastic promo, doesn't he? That promo he did after his last fight, I think it just turned everyone's opinions. The things he was saying, the way he said it, and the way he carried himself. Really well done, Conor Benn, over the last 12 months, and who knows where he can end up.
He sells himself brilliantly, like his dad did. You know, he sold that Dark Destroyer image. He sells himself brilliantly. Your first topic, Macaulay, check weigh-ins and whether they're more harm than good.
Yeah. So, I mean, I had a few check weigh-ins and they weren't too bad, but you wear a fighters and they're cutting serious amounts of weight, or they're coming in the ring the next day after 24 hours, real like £15, £20. So to be coming over that weight, there must be weight, and to reach the check weigh-ins must be harmful. So like the check weigh-ins are like 5% on the week, but most guys top level are cutting 10%. So how are they having to be 5% within their weight, and then a bit further out still having to be 10% out? How are they then? It's like they're having to make the weight 3 or 4 times before they actually make the weight. So is that doing more harm than good? This is just me throwing it out there. Like, with some fights, it won't be as bad, but the bigger guys cutting more weight, then I think it's got to be. So, yeah, that's my topic.
Well, the perfect example of this recently, when Josh Kelly put a photograph up of his check weight before having Asian, and I know there was rumours going around that he'd done a weight cut to make the check weight. If Josh is watching and that's wrong, tell me, Josh, if it's bullshit. But yeah, I understand it. You know, some guys will be doing 2 or 3 weight cuts just to pass for check weight and then make the weigh-in. What's the other way around it though? You know, if you take check weights out, people will be doing the MMA method of taking 20 pounds out the day before, won't they? What's the solution to that?
Sorry.
Go on. Sorry, it's your topic, Macaulay. I'd rather hear your version than your opinions than mine.
No, I just feel like the black and white of it is guys are going to cut weight, and there's a load of science now behind it and all this, but no matter what, no matter how you move the boundary, they're going to cut weight. So unless they're going to start checking weight or make the check weigh-ins a larger percentage, or they check their dehydration levels at the check weigh-in, I don't know if they can do that. I just think we're just saying a check weight and of a certain percentage of the weight, when we all know the top guys are cutting serious amount of weight, I think it's doing more harm than good. Like, you know, being dehydrated for longer or more times than you should be, instead of letting them just make the weight once and once only. Steve.
Yeah, I don't. You know what? Is there? You know, wrong if you do, wrong if you don't. You know, end these check weights, because, as John said, you're going to get these guys just going on the vitamin C 2 days before the fight and just urinating all sorts out of them. You know, all sorts of, you know, and get the weight down like fighters have done. You know, I just think. Right now, I think you've got to stick with these check weights, because, as John says, it's going to be even more dangerous. But I'm wondering, do you think on the day weigh-ins would make any difference instead of the night before?
No.
Right. Next topic is, I know we've sort of got used to behind closed doors shows, and there's been some unique venues, shall we say, but watching Carl Frampton at weekend, you know, a guy who's built his reputation on creating massive atmospheres and taking that fan base all over the world, watching him bring his career down in like an empty Centre Parks dome at weekend, I just thought it was really sad. You know, that we've seen some soulless venues. That was as bad as it gets, wasn't it? It was terrible. The MC, I know you're going to talk about M. Steve, didn't help. And it just made me realise, you know, we've got to get these fans back, don't we? Something I wanted to ask Macaulay, you know, we see fighters, you know, who are doing well where there's no crowds, and they ask what it's like walking in and everything. What's it like when you're on the wrong end of something and you know it's going bad and you're just purely having to grit your teeth and survive? What's that like without a crowd?
Oh, to be honest, the second fight with Conway, it had a crowd, didn't it? I had
the second one did, yeah.
Yeah. The first one with Kalakmet, I had Kofi. I could hear Kofi screaming and the coach, and that was it. But yeah, it was horrible. You got out of the ring, it was silent. It felt like a box at the end of a show, you know, like a Frank Warren show where it's taking the ring down around you. But I was the main event. So yeah, it was weird. It was weird. I can't really explain it in any way. It was weird, but well, yeah, with Carl Frampton, I think they expected him to win. I think they must have thought he was going to win, because no way, if they thought like he weren't, like there's a big chance that he weren't, I think they would have waited till crowds are back and made a big deal. But I don't know.
You know what? I think what made it, I think you make a really valid point, John, but I think what made it more eerie the other night was Carl didn't look right from getting in the ring. He looked to me like he'd eaten himself into the weight a little bit. And I don't mean anything derogatory to Carl Frampton. You know, I've spoke to him on text since the fight. I won't have a word against him. But I just think the way we saw him there, it wasn't just the size of Herring, who was naturally bigger, but it was the way Carl was in that ring on the night. He was just an absolute pale shadow of the man who's had a procession of world title fights, and that coupled with the awful production of the night, like some sixth form thing, kids doing their A levels, was I think that just added to it all, Carl's performance and the way he was, because I'm watching there, seeing a man I've followed for years old in the ring before my eyes, and he could have been fighting at super bantam or featherweight. It wouldn't have made a difference the other night, but it just didn't look great on TV. But it was a fight. They had to get this fight away, John. You know, it was either that, it was either now, or Shakur would have been kicking off and Carl would have lost the fight. So I think, you know, you cut them that bit of slack, but right, round 5, understated or overrated. Macaulay will be vital here because he's been in the ring, and the role of the MC. Now, to me, look, you've got some great Jimmy Lennon Jr., you know, sells it brilliantly. Buffer at his peak did, but I think too much is made these days about the role of an MC in a fight, how they call a fight. Like the guy was shocking the other night. You know, he was really, really, really poor in Dubai on the Frampton Herring card. But to me, you know, do we make too big a deal of MCs? Do some of them like the story almost to be behind about themselves? Like, I don't know David Diamante, but you know, you got a guy in his 50s who walks around with Trilby indoors. They like to portray this image, and it's not about them. And to me, I want an MC to announce the fight. I don't want him to, you know, I don't get sold on by a fight on how an MC sells it to me. If you're listening to the weather on ITV News, the weatherman tells you it's going to rain, it's cloudy, it's sunny. We're in Manchester. Usually tells you it's going to piss down every day. It don't make you want to go. He's not there to make you want to go out or sell it to you. And I just think we overplay the role of MCs a little bit. I know some people are quite upset like that because they're quite sensitive souls. How do you feel with MC Macaulay?
I disagree with you there. I think we should be. I don't think we should like make a big deal about him, but I think an MC should be pretty brilliant. And I slagged off that. I mean, I put a few tweets about that guy the other day, saying he's from a fairground. But I love it, mate. Just like enthusiasm. As long as he gets the name right, the record. As long as you get the facts right, I don't care how they pronounce it. You've got to get the facts right. Show the respect by getting your name right, and then, you know, if you want to be a bit wacky and, you know, make a bit of me watching it. When I'm watching it, I love a crazy MC. I think it's great. I was an amateur for years, and you'd be in little social clubs, and an old man, and he reads your name out dead miserably, and you think, oh, whatever. You know, this isn't boxing. This is let's get ready to rumble. So it don't matter if it's Michael Buffer, Jimmy Lennon Jr. or whatever. If the MC is enthusiastic, gets the facts right, I'm all for it. I love it, mate.
You know, I think a good one really improves a main event, but a bad one can ruin it, can't they? The worst thing an MC can do is give away a split decision or a majority decision by reading the scores out. That's unforgivable. And there's been MCs who've been doing job for years who balls that up every time they do it. Yeah. And that should be an instant sacking. But yeah, a good one can make it, but a bad one can really ruin it, I think.
And another one, what a trick British MCs used to do, and I think Frank Maloney or Andy Ayling told me this. When they say it's a split decision, whoever they call out first with winning the first card is the winner of the fight.
Hey, I like how you let that go there, John. We needed to get that
right. Okay, final round. Macaulay is going to take us away with social media opinions.
Yeah, So I think, so social media, right? There's so many opinions. Everyone's got an opinion. Subconsciously, if you're a ref, you're a boxer, you're a fighter, coach, whatever, you're going to take some of these opinions in because we're on it all the time. If you're on it all the time, anyway. So are we becoming boxing public soft? Like every time there's a few punches landed or a bit of a knockdown, like everyone's on social media. It should have been stopped. It should have been stopped. And I know that was happening on my fight with Kalakma and probably even a few rounds with the Conway fight. I'm not talking about me. I have my opinion on that. I'm talking about fights where they are a bit to and fro. I'd have a puncher's chance, but when there's a puncher in the ring and he's taking a bit of a beating, I think just let it go ahead. Imagine if Frank Cappuccino was on social media. We would have had Mickey Ward or Gatti. You know what I mean? He would have been too worried about what Paul on a fake account said about him not stopping it. So yeah, I think we're becoming very soft. I think everyone's too opinionated and we're coming a bit, the boxing public's coming a bit soft. If someone's going to knock him out, let him earn it. That's what I think.
Do you know what, Macaulay? I agree. I'm not in there, so I don't know what my opinion stands for. But look at the great fights. Can you imagine Ben McClellan? We wouldn't have had, I know, a tragic ending, but what a fight. We wouldn't have had that fight. We wouldn't have, hundreds, I can't even think of them off the top. Gatti Ruelas, Gatti Rodriguez, these absolute wars where people were on the verge of getting stopped, virtually dragging themselves up off the floor and then finding fight-winning punches. And I know the world's changed, hasn't it? Everything's, I don't want to say softer these days, but everything's softer these days, isn't it?
Everything's softer, John. We're in this woke world now where everyone's, offended by everything. And, every boxer, anything they're saying, if a boxer has, going away from the topic, the subject Macaulay makes, or the shout you make there is bang on about, officials, trainers, that they read social media and they're affected by it. Oh, did I do wrong there? But, because there might be, as you call them, 20 pools with 8 numbers after their name without a picture of saying this. We've all got insecurities and we all take these on board. You've got to develop a rhino skin. But, they are affected. But it's not just this. I think, in boxing in general, a lot of boxers, trainers, there's insecurities there. And they're worried sick about what's said about them on social media because you can see how often they bring that topic up.
Yeah. Well, like say a referee that did Gatti, Rules, and then he went on social media and was like, that should have been stopped. Blah, blah, blah. The next referee that referees Gatti will have it in the back of his head. Oh, he's taking too many shots here. I'll have to stop it. And then we wouldn't have seen the consistent wars we've seen Gatti in. I know there's more topic on brain injuries and everything like that. I know that, but we know more now. Like we hear about more fights. There's fights going on now in a little gym somewhere that will end up on BoxRec that we don't know. There's millions of fights all the time. So if you think about it, only a small percentage are ending pretty tragic, which hopefully I wish there was none, but it's the sport that we're in. So I don't think it's fair that every time there's a bit of a war going on, there's a bit of a hard fight, everyone's screaming for it to be stopped or giving the referee or the coach slagging them off because they haven't stopped it and stuff like that. I think the boxers know the risk. So
yeah, it's a little bit hypocritical, isn't it? When there's a great fight, everyone's praising and saying, what a fight, what a war, great warriors, what fantastic spectacle. But then the same people will say, it should be stopped, I think it's quite obvious when a fight should be stopped.
Yeah.
When you've watched a lot of fights, there's a point where it's quite obvious, that that's it. Carl Frampton the weekend, that was an obvious stoppage, wasn't it?
Hey, you know what? I was just going to say that, John. I thought, and Macaulay might disagree here. I thought when Carl went down for that second knockdown, his body sort of shook, and that was obvious that he was gone from that shot. It was the instinct of a fighting man, a warrior of fighting at the highest level, was an amateur and pro, senior amateur. I think 2005 he won his first national senior. That got him up from that second knockdown. But you saw the way I think his the reaction of his upper body when he was hurt there. That second knockdown I found that quite. I said to my wife when we were watching it, that just scared me. That.
Yeah, he was out before he hit the floor. I thought the referee should have waved it off. I think it's sad that Jamie Moore had to throw the towel in. I think the ref should have stopped it. But Jamie did the right thing on that call. So I haven't brought this subject up because of that. I'm just saying it in general.
No, it's a really good point, and something that, you know, you as I said to you when you messaged me today, I said that was a brilliant topic, because it's something, you know, until you said that, I've never really thought about like corners, or I'm worried about what, you know, as you call Paul 78986 on Twitter's going to say. And you know, some cornermen are, you know, look, it's like all of us sometimes we don't like criticism, and you know, and some are more sensitive than others.
Yeah, definitely. I don't get me wrong, I can get sensitive by it. Like, if any fighter comes on and says you don't read social media, a liar, you search your name, the bar at the top, and see what people have said after the fight. So you see people that haven't tagged you slagging you. You're like, oh, but you just type in your name, McGowan. I don't think I remember that, but you don't take it for right. You forget about it.
Can you remember the best thing you've read about yourself, Macaulay?
I remember. I can't remember the best thing I said. I think someone compared me once. They went, someone was getting battered in a fight, and he went, at least you no, the boy against Joyce, he went, you got battered more than that, and you didn't quit. I was like, I think that's a bit of a, I don't know if that was a compliment or not.
Backhanded compliment, that, isn't it?
But yeah. I'll tell you what, I'll just leave it with it. What's funny, you said something there about boxers searching their name. It's when you see someone on Twitter who you've seen on Twitter regularly, just bang, bang, hammering into boxers non-stop, you know, like someone like Anthony Fowler, who I get on so well with, gets it non-stop on Twitter. And then you'll get someone saying, you'll get someone who you've seen on Twitter constantly chinning fighters with tweets, right? And they'll say, oh, so-and-so's never blocked me. I've never said a word. I've never said a word to him in my life. You know, they don't realise they've been calling him a muppet for the last 6 months, and that person searches for it, as you say.
Yeah, of course. Just because you haven't tagged him in it, we still see it. Like,
another one before we let you go, Macaulay. I know you're a gift now, aren't you, with your ring walk? But I suggested it's the greatest ring walk music no one's ever used, and it's the Elvis intro music. If you can get some white rhinestone shorts and a cape and come out to the intro music for Elvis's concerts, that's it. You've cracked it. You can't do ring walks.
Nah,
I'll do that.
All right, well, my favourite ring walk music, and he knows this, is Enzo Mack when he comes out to Won't Back Down. I think that's absolutely the ultimate ring walk song. Brilliant. Tom Petty. I think that is a brilliant song for someone who is an out-and-out fighter. I think that's...
Right, I come out to Ja Rule and a shanty. I don't know what...
Oh, well, fellas...
You know what it was?
Sorry.
Because I took it last minute. I'm always on time. That was... I just... not always there when you call, but I'm always on time. So I just thought I'll have that.
Oh, God.
Fellas, I can't thank you both enough for this week. You've been brilliant, both of you. Macaulay, you've been a breath of fresh air on here this week with your opinions, and a lot of food for thought, as we say. John, thanks very much as always. I know you've been watching sparring today, John, down at Steve Maylett's gym, so I'll let you get a day off from a night off from boxing. Fellas, thanks very much.
Got one, Steve. Thanks, John.
For all boxing info, news, and latest interviews, amateur and pro, across the north, click and subscribe. VIP Boxing Promotions. Also, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.